Hold in contempt. To have a strong feeling of dislike or disrespect towards someone or something. Synonym for hold in contempt. Despise, disdain, contemn, scorn, disrespect, disregard. The community held the corrupt politician in contempt for betraying their trust. He holds politicians in contempt due to their dishonesty. The judge warned the witness that if they continued to evade questions and show disrespect to the court, they could be held in contempt and face serious consequences. Resent towards. To feel bitterness or indignation towards someone or something. Synonym for resent towards. Harbor resentment towards, bear a grudge against, feel bitterness towards, hold a grudge against, be resentful of, feel aggrieved towards. She resents towards her sister for always receiving preferential treatment from their parents. She harbors resentment towards her ex-boyfriend for betraying her trust. He resented towards his colleague for taking credit for his ideas. Sicken by. To feel disgust or revulsion towards something. Synonym for sicken by. Disgust, repulse, revolt, appall, horrify, nauseate. He was sickened by the sight and smell of the rotting garbage. She was sickened by the cruelty of the crime scene she witnessed. I was sickened by the sight of the animal cruelty in the documentary. Wince at. To visibly react with discomfort or dislike to something unpleasant. Synonym for wince at. Recoil from, cringe at, shudder at, flinch from, grimace at, quail at. He winced at the sound of nails scratching on a chalkboard. She winced at the sight of the gruesome injury. She winced at the taste of the bitter medicine. Disapprove of. To have a negative opinion or judgment about someone or something. Synonym for disapprove of. Deprecate, object to, oppose, condemn, denounce, reject. Her parents strongly disapprove of her decision to drop out of college. Her parents disapprove of her decision to drop out of college. The committee disapproved of the proposed budget cuts. Recoil from. To draw back or flinch from something unpleasant or distasteful. Synonym for recoil from. Shrink from, flinch from, shudder at, shy away from, pull away from, draw back from. He recoiled from the smell of the rotten food. She recoiled from the idea of eating insects, finding it repulsive. He recoiled from the offensive smell emanating from the garbage bin. Abhorrence towards. To have a feeling of intense dislike or hatred towards someone or something. Synonym for abhorrence towards. Hatred for, detestation towards, loathing for, aversion to, repugnance towards, disgust for. The community expressed their abhorrence towards discrimination and injustice. He felt a deep abhorrence towards violence and conflict. His abhorrence towards injustice led him to become an activist. Check up on. To visit or inquire about someone to ensure they are well or to monitor their progress. Synonym for check up on. visit, inquire about, monitor, look into, inspect, follow up on. The nurse will check up on you in the morning to see how you're feeling. The nurse regularly checks up on patients in the recovery room to monitor their progress. She called to check up on her elderly neighbor to make sure she had everything she needed. Diagnose with. To identify or determine a medical condition or disease affecting someone. Synonym for. Diagnose with. Identify with, determine with, pinpoint with, detect with, ascertain with, confirm with. The doctor diagnosed him with pneumonia after conducting several tests. She was diagnosed with diabetes after experiencing symptoms of fatigue and excessive thirst. Treat for. To provide medical care or therapy to address a specific health issue. Synonym for. Treat for. Provide therapy for, administer care for, address, manage, attend to, deal with. He was treated for a broken leg after falling during a hiking trip. The veterinarian treated the dog for an ear infection with antibiotics. The pediatrician will treat the child for her ear infection with antibiotics. Operate on. To perform surgery on a patient. Synonym for. Operate on. Perform surgery on, conduct surgery on, undertake an operation on, surgically intervene on, cut into, incise. The surgeon will operate on his knee to repair the torn ligament. The surgeon operated on the patient to remove the tumor from his brain. She was scheduled to be operated on for a knee injury sustained during a sports event. Prescribe for. To issue a medical prescription or recommendation for a particular treatment or medication. Synonym for. Prescribe for. Recommend for, advise for, provide medication for, order for, issue a prescription for, administer for. She prescribed pain medication for the patient's post-surgery discomfort. The doctor prescribed antibiotics for the patient's sinus infection. The doctor prescribed medication for her high blood pressure. Refer to. To send someone to another medical professional or specialist for further evaluation or treatment. Synonym for. Refer to. Direct to, send to, transfer to, recommend to, consult with, delegate to. The general practitioner referred the patient to an orthopedic specialist for further evaluation of her knee injury. The dermatologist referred the patient to an oncologist after noticing suspicious moles during a routine examination. The general practitioner referred him to an orthopedic surgeon for his back pain. Follow up on. To monitor or review someone's progress after a previous medical treatment or consultation. Synonym for. Follow up on. Monitor progress, check on, review after, follow through with, pursue further, investigate after. The doctor will follow up on your condition next week to see how you're doing. The nurse followed up on the patient's recovery progress after their recent surgery. The physician followed up on the test results with the patient to discuss the next steps in treatment. Listen for. To pay attention to specific symptoms or signs during a medical examination. Synonym for. Listen for. Attend to, watch out for, be attentive to, be alert for, be on the lookout for, keep an ear out for. The audiologist listened for signs of hearing loss during the hearing test. The doctor listened for any abnormal sounds in the patient's lungs. During the physical exam, the doctor listened for any abnormal sounds in the patient's lungs. Operate on. To perform a surgical procedure on a patient. Synonym for operate on. Perform surgery on, conduct an operation on, undertake a surgical procedure on, carry out surgery on, execute a surgical intervention on, administer a surgical operation on. The neurosurgeon operated on the patient to repair a herniated disc in the spine. The surgeon operated on the patient's heart to remove the blockage. The surgeon operated on the patient to remove the gallbladder due to gallstones. Run tests. To conduct medical examinations or procedures to determine a diagnosis or evaluate a condition. Synonym for run tests. Conduct examinations, perform diagnostics, carry out tests, administer tests, undertake analyses, evaluate through tests. The cardiologist ran tests to assess the patient's heart function. The doctor will run tests to check for any abnormalities in your blood. The lab technician ran tests to analyze the patient's blood sugar levels. Draw blood. To take a sample of blood from a patient for medical testing. Synonym for draw blood. Extract blood, take a blood sample, collect blood, obtain blood, withdraw blood, obtain a blood specimen. The nurse drew blood from the pediatric patient for routine testing. The phlebotomist drew blood from the patient's arm for laboratory analysis. The nurse will need to draw blood to check your cholesterol levels. Wean off. To gradually reduce someone's dependence on medication or medical support. Synonym for wean off. Gradually reduce dependency on, withdraw from, decrease reliance on, ease off, step down from, taper off. The doctor will wean you off the painkillers as your recovery progresses. The doctor advised gradually weaning the patient off antidepressants under close supervision. She weaned her infant off breastfeeding by gradually introducing formula. Patch up. To provide emergency medical treatment or first aid to someone who is injured. Synonym for patch up. Provide first aid to attend to injuries, mend, heal, treat, dress wounds. The paramedics patched up the wounded hiker before transporting him to the hospital. The paramedics patched up the cyclist's wounds after his bike accident. The nurse patched up the minor cut on the child's knee and applied a bandage. Make rounds. To visit and check on patients in a hospital or medical facility. Synonym for make rounds. Conduct rounds, visit patients, check on patients, attend to patients, inspect patients, examine patients. The doctor makes rounds every morning to see how his patients are recovering. The medical team made rounds early in the morning to check on patients' overnight progress. The resident physician made rounds with the attending physician to discuss treatment plans for each patient. Check-in. To register arrival at a hospital or medical facility for an appointment or admission. Synonym for check-in. Register at, sign in at, report to, arrive at, log in at, enroll at. The patient checked in at the reception desk before his scheduled appointment with the cardiologist. She checked in at the hospital's admissions desk for her scheduled surgery. Please check in at the front desk before seeing the specialist. Cut back on. To reduce the dosage or frequency of medication or treatment. Synonym for. Cut back on. Reduce dosage of, decrease frequency of, diminish, scale down, minimize, trim down. She was instructed to cut back on sodium intake to manage her hypertension. The doctor advised her to cut back on caffeine to help alleviate her insomnia. The doctor advised the patient to cut back on caffeine intake to help alleviate insomnia. Ease off. To gradually reduce the severity or intensity of symptoms or discomfort. Synonym for. Ease off. Reduce severity of, lessen intensity of, alleviate, mitigate, relieve, abate. The medication should help ease off the pain in your joints. The pain medication helped ease off the patient's post-operative discomfort. The physical therapist recommended exercises to help ease off muscle tension and improve flexibility. Monitor for. To observe or keep track of someone's condition for signs of improvement or deterioration. Synonym for. Monitor for. Watch for, keep an eye on, observe for, look out for, survey for, supervise for. The nurse will monitor you for any adverse reactions to the medication. The physician monitored the patient for adverse reactions to the new medication. The nurse monitored the patient for signs of infection following surgery. Take out. To remove something from the body through a surgical procedure. Synonym for. Take out. Extract, remove, excise, surgically remove, pull out, withdraw. The dentist will need to take out your wisdom teeth as they're causing problems. The surgeon took out the patient's appendix to treat appendicitis. The dentist took out the patient's wisdom teeth due to impaction. Patch up. To repair or mend a wound or injury. Synonym for. Patch up. Mend, repair, fix, heal, stitch up, restore. The doctor patched up the laceration on the hiker's arm with stitches. After the accident, the paramedics quickly patched up the cyclist's leg wound. The doctor patched up the laceration with stitches to prevent infection. Lay off. To dismiss employees from their jobs due to economic reasons. Synonym for. Lay off. Downsize, terminate, dismiss, sack, let go, pink slip. Despite efforts to avoid layoffs, the management decided to lay off workers as a last resort. The company had to lay off several workers during the economic downturn. The company had to lay off several employees due to budget cuts. Trade off. To exchange one thing for another, often in economic negotiations. Synonym for. Trade off. Exchange, swap, barter, bargain, negotiate, compromise. In negotiations, the company was willing to trade off higher profit margins for longer-term market share. Countries sometimes trade off certain concessions during trade talks. The trade-off between cost and quality is a common consideration for consumers. Bear down on. To exert pressure or have a significant impact on the economy. Synonym for. Bear down on. Exert pressure on, apply pressure to, weigh heavily on, press down on, oppress, overwhelm. Rising inflation can bear down on the purchasing power of consumers. The recession began to bear down on small businesses, forcing many to close their doors. Economic sanctions started to bear down on the country's economy, leading to currency devaluation. Write off. To declare a financial loss or debt as uncollectible. Synonym for. Write off. Cancel, forgive, waive, discharge, absolve, excuse. The company had to write off a significant amount of bad debt. Due to the prolonged economic downturn, the company had to write off a significant portion of its assets. The bank decided to write off the bad debt owed by the bankrupt company. Scale back. To reduce the size or scope of economic activities or projects. Synonym for. Scale back. Reduce, decrease, cut back, downsize, trim, curtail. The government had to scale back its infrastructure development plans due to budget constraints. The government had to scale back infrastructure projects due to budget constraints. The company announced plans to scale back production in response to decreased demand. You can find playlists for various languages in the video description. To practice the vocabulary, you are encouraged to explore our various apps. Links to these are also included in the description. If you found something new or interesting, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section and provide your valuable feedback. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more educational content.